and it's tough to go like, oh no, no, my squad needs me. Mrs. B is not like, part of this podcast is about being an adult video gamer. Maybe you got a family, maybe you got a career, but you've got other responsibilities than when you had when you were a kid. And playing multiplayer games that you can't pause does not work well. It is not conducive to making sure that your family is happy with you, unless they're also playing the game. Pull it back and let it go. You're here for a video game podcast for adult gamers called The Andy B Show. I'm so glad you're here. It's wonderful to see you. By the time you're listening to this, the Battlefield 6 beta weekend 2 is over. And this podcast has mentioned a lot of Battlefield. It is a big game in the lead up to the launch, which is coming in October. And since we've got about 2 months to think about things before like October gets here, the question is, after 2 weekends of the Battlefield 6 beta, you buying? Are you buying this Battlefield 6 beta? Is anybody buying it? I think a lot of people are going to buy this game. It turns out that it's pretty good. But am I going to buy it? You know, we talked back, I think on episode, 12? Yeah, episode 10 of this show, which was titled, Thanks to Battlefield 6, we're all grandpa gamers now. I really think that Battlefield 6 needs a great single-player campaign, because I'm not sure that the multiplayer is enough. I'm not sure that I would feel great if I had a couple of bad matches in a row, a bunch of bad beats, maybe a bunch of bad squads, or maybe I was a bad squad member and we didn't get along. If you have a bunch of bad matches in a row, you're going to want to keep playing? Are you going to feel bad about buying Battlefield 6? It's $70 plus extras and microtransactions. How are you going to feel about it if you're having a couple of bad matches in a row and maybe you're like, you know what, maybe the multiplayer wasn't for me? So it's really nice that they gave us 2 weekends worth, I think like 3 or 4 days each to take a look at it. I played enough matches. I played enough. Actually, at the time I'm recording this, it's the day before the podcast launch. This podcast launches on Mondays at 11 a.m. Central. So this will be the Monday, August 18th, 2025 episode. And I'm recording it on Sunday, the day before. I might play a little more tonight, but I'm good. Like, I feel like I've got the feel of what the multiplayer is. They still haven't talked about the single player. They have done nothing but kind of hint at the fact that there's going to be, or the rumor that there's going to be a battle royale mode, a 1 versus 100 or a 1 squad versus mini squad drop in on a large map, scavenge, procure on site, and then make it happen, kind of a version of the game. I hope they do that. If they do that, they'll probably make that free to play. So you'll probably be able to get that without laying down $70. The $70 is really, do you want to play the multiplayer? And they've given you a couple of weekends to check it out for free. You buy it. I'm close. I had a match on Thursday after work, and I logged in and I was like, oh, they added in this like close quarters combat version. And they said they have like map timers. They're going to let you know like roughly how much time you're going to spend on a particular game mode. And they said, oh, this one's 10 minutes. I was like, 10 minutes. Perfect. I got 10 minutes right now. Just logged off of work before dinner time shows up here, family time in the evening. I got 10 minutes. Sneak in a match. And I got dropped into a squad that was on comms. Now, if you haven't played Battlefield 6, if you've got a, 12 versus 12 or 16 versus 16 teams, the 16 people on your team are broken up into squads of 4 or 5 or 3 to 5, maybe up to 6. Usually it's 3 to 5. And they place you into a squad, and your mic is only heard by the other people, and their mics, their communications, literally talking to you online, is only heard by you. So you might have 16 people on a team on your side of the war, but you only hear your squad. And that way it's not too much chatter, right? That's how you can get up to 64 player matches or 128 player matches. I didn't see any 128 player matches in the menus. I don't know if they're going to do that or not. Expected it. I didn't see it. So you have just your comms for your folks, and it keeps it manageable. You can, hear what's going on. And they also make it super visual. So you could see through the walls your teammates that are in your squad. They have their names in green, a light green. I'm a little bit colorblind, but I could pick out that it's light green. That shows up. You could see kind of where they're at all times. It shows them when you respawn. It shows them on the map where they're at. You can spawn on them to like reinforce them from wherever they're at, even on the front lines, so long as they're not in combat. And it gives you this feeling of like, hey, you're part of a squad. This is your team within a team. And Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, Black Ops, we'll talk about Black Ops 7 here in a bit, doesn't do that. You're on your 6 versus 6 or 10 versus 10 team, and it's small enough that you don't need it. But when you get to bigger teams, you need this segregation, this separation, so that you can kind of understand what your role is and what your squad's doing. And you don't go run off on your own. You stick around your squad, right? They're your team. Well, I logged into this match, and all 4 other people on my squad were talking. They're on comms. They're like, hey, man, what's going on? Oh, no, we got to go attack B. Look behind you. No, give me a revive. I was like, okay. This is it. I'm scrambling. I had the wrong headset in. I didn't have my mic turned on. I was like, I got to get on mics. These people are on mics. We're going to talk like the old days. Communicate, coordinate, overcome. And it was a lot of fun. I had the wrong headset in, which didn't have a microphone in line. And I didn't have my Astros on. And so I found a way in the PlayStation 5, you can just there's a microphone built into the controller. So you can just go flip that option on real fast. And I'm yelling into my controller, we got a guy behind you on 6. It was great. It was really great. And that was like the best match. And I only had one, and you have an option at the end to stay with the people that are in your match or to, separate, go your own ways. And I'm like, stay together, squad. But it turns out, just like being an adult with a family, it's like, oh, I can't really play these matches during the day. I can't play like when the kids are awake at any point, I might need to go parent and to be a parent, and just to be part of the family. And it's tough to go like, oh no, my squad needs me. Mrs. B is not like, part of this podcast is about being an adult video gamer. Maybe you got a family, maybe you got a career, but you've got other responsibilities than when you had when you were a kid. And playing multiplayer games that you can't pause does not work well. It is not conducive to making sure that your family is happy with you, unless they're also playing the game. My kids aren't old enough to play Battlefield 6, and I don't think they care about first-person shooters. So, matter of fact, I know they don't. They might someday, and I read an interesting article this week about what it's like playing games with your kids. I'm going to share it with you later in the show. I'm going to share a bunch of stuff with you later in the show. Matter of fact, let's kick over to what we're talking about for the rest of the show. We are going to be talking about Gamescom Opening Night Live. There were some announced games they're going to show at Gamescom, which I think is in Germany or Dusseldorf. It's someplace in the other side of the world. There should be a bunch of game announcements or another like deeper look at certain games. We'll see that. I want to talk about the PlayStation Plus games for August, because when this podcast launches, it'll be 1 day, T-minus 1 day, before a ton of amazing games are coming out on the PlayStation Plus game catalog. We've got just kind of a quick look at some other games like Echoes of the End and Gothic. Talk about Black Ops 2 on the Switch. And I'd love to share what I learned about finishing 150 Picross puzzles and the strange case of Louisiana, my home state of Louisiana, suing Roblox. So that'll be fun. So there's a lot going on the show today. Thank you for being here. Quick plug for the Gaming 411 newsletter. I send these out on Saturdays. If you want to get them for free, you can go to patreon.com/TheAndyB Show. There's a big collection of them here because I send out one a week. So pretty soon this whole page is filled up with nothing but amazing gaming newsletters. So it is 4 trending stories in video games that I'm tracking, 1 video game that I would like a little more time to play and why, and 1 show update from me. So it's free. It's easy to get into your email and to your Patreon app. And in a way, it's probably a little bit of a preview for the show, because if you're like, man, I just can't wait to find out more about the Andy B show and what he's going to be talking about next Monday. Well, I send this in on Saturday, and some of these things I'm going to feature in the show probably. So it's a little preview, but it also creates a space where you can just go search things, because you're like, what week did Andy talk about Battlefield? Well, you can just go search in there and it shows all the posts of Battlefield, which is all of them so far. All of the Gaming 411 newsletters. But which gaming newsletters did he talk about Chibi-Robo? Just one? Oh, that's because it's relevant to what's going on today. In the same way that you can also go over to the Patreon and look for all of the shows, and all the show notes are there. So you can search all of the podcasts as a collection, and you can say, where did Andy talk about Battlefield? And it'll show up all of the podcasts where I talked about Battlefield, because I put the show notes in there, and in the show notes, I list all the games I talk about. I grab them out of the subtitles file, and I put them in the show notes. So you can always go like, which show did he talk about that in? And those come up. What shows did I talk about? Donkey Kong, right? Couple of them, including episode 9, Women Love Donkey Kong. Anyway, those are some resources that are out there for you for free on the Patreon. Something that's not going to be free on the Patreon, but that you can get access to, is an early access episode. The second one I'm going to record is about the 1993 Blockbuster Video Game World Championship and my role in it. And you don't want to miss out on that. Those are going to be exclusive stories that you can't get anywhere else. I call them early access episodes because I guess maybe, if I get sick, maybe I'll play them in the main podcast feed someday, so that you don't have to hear, a tough voice. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Opening Night Live. That's Tuesday. I think in the middle of the day is when that comes out. There's going to be like our boy Jeff Keighley's out there again. He confirmed 7 games for Opening Night Live, which is on Tuesday. I want to say it's nighttime in Cologne or wherever it's at. But here in the US, it's going to be like at 2 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'll be working. Anyway, here's the games they've confirmed for Opening Night Live so far. Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Resident Evil Requiem. Ghost of Yotei. Looking forward to more of that. Ninja Gaiden 4, The Outer Worlds 2, Silent Hill F, World of Warcraft Midnight, Black Myth Wukong. I'm like, is Black Myth Wukong just out? Maybe they have DLC or something. Lords of the Fallen 2, that's pretty cool. We haven't really seen, we've heard a lot of stuff maybe coming around. Thanks, IGN. Maybe coming around for Lords of the Fallen. Lords of the Fallen is one of these Souls games that they just couldn't stop working on. It could have been or should have been a game that came and went, but they just kept sticking with it and never let it go. So they've continued to make it better and better. If you're into Souls games and you want something that's super accessible, like they have I think they have co-op, like 2-player co-op through the whole thing. Not like you summon a guy and he shows up just for the boss, but like you and a buddy can blast through it. And then they have like different difficulty levels. And we're seeing more games like that with like different difficulty levels. We got a bunch more news and then some stuff that I've been playing. So let's keep moving here. I mentioned the PlayStation Plus games for this month. These are kind of a big deal. Like, they keep putting out really incredible games. And if you're a game sampler, if you're an adult who samples games because you don't have time to like commit to a full like playthrough of everything, these game subscriptions are just really good value, I think. New on Game Catalog on August 19th, by the way, not coming soon, Xbox. August 19th. See you there. So it's a day after this podcast goes live. Mortal Kombat 1's going to be in there, which is very violent. But they always have fun stories. I'm looking forward to playing that. They got some anime games in there. Unicorn Overlord, Atelier Ryza 3. I hear people talk about these as being pretty good. Maybe I'll check them out. The big one there is Spider-Man Remastered. Like if you missed out on the new Spider-Man game a few years ago, which is one of the few platinum trophies I have on PlayStation, is that Spider-Man game. It's good. It is a good game. It's got Batman Arkham style combat. If you were a fan of that, like, you um, can always parry, you can always dodge, you can always combo if you just get your timing right. Including if you have like 6 people attacking you, you just hit the parry button 6 times in a row real fast, and you can kind of work it through. The one there that I'm super pumped about is Sword of the Sea. Sword of the Sea is a brand new game, day one release. We talked about it recently here on the show last week, and it looks real good. And that's going to be, quote unquote free, right? It's not free because you have to pay for the subscription, but it's basically free. Also, if you're like an extra person, you got game trials, so you can try out Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I'm still working my way through Death Stranding 1, not worried about it. There's a game called Harold Halibut, a handmade narrative game about friendship and life on a city-sized spaceship submerged in an alien ocean. Like, I kind of want to know what that game's about. I think this one looks really cool. Maybe for kids. Look, we're going to talk again a little bit later about this article I read about playing with your children video games. Coral Island here, though, is like, this might be part of it. Be who you want and create the idyllic farm of your dreams where you'll tend crops, nurture animals, and build a bond with the natural world around you. Help vitalize the nearby town and its surrounding coral reefs, forge relationships with a vibrant community of more than 70 fellow people who call Coral Island home. Farm, decorate, craft, explore, relax. Sounds like a cozy game. If you're into premium, you get the old Resident Evil 2 and 3 as well. I don't pay for that, but some people do. Anyway, that's a lot of value. That's a lot of stuff coming. There's never been a better time to be a sampler of video games, right? Like that's the real truth of it. Like if you just want to try out a bunch of stuff, there's never been a better time. And that's for like new games. What about old games? There's never been a better time to sample old games. That's like the craziest part, because old games are constantly getting re-released, just like Resident Evil 2 and 3 are coming to PlayStation Plus there. Nintendo is killing it with the old games. And I don't think they're moving fast enough for me, but here's what's coming to Nintendo Classics for the GameCube, I think this month. I'm not sure exactly when it is. Maybe it'll tell us in this trailer. This is Chibi-Robo. There were over 600 GameCube games released. I never played Chibi-Robo. I probably played a couple dozen, GameCube games. I'm sure there were probably some of them that never showed up anywhere but in Japan. Chibi-Robo was around. I'd heard of this one. But you're like this little robot that helps out around the house. It's got really crazy music. It kind of makes me think of, like the first thought I had when I saw this was like, oh, are we going to get Viewtiful Joe on the GameCube? Which was like a 2D side scroller where you control time, you speed it up, slow it down, and it's like a beat 'em up. And so now the countdown is on. How long before we get to Viewtiful Joe coming out on the GameCube, Nintendo Classics? August 21st. There it is, Xbox. Just stick the date on there. No coming soon. Anyway, you have to have a Switch 2 for this because you need all that power. I guess the original Switch 1 isn't tough enough to make sure that you can emulate the GameCube games. But it's cool. I think they're at a pace of like, I don't know. It feels like every 2 or 3 weeks so far, they're releasing another GameCube game. They started out with 2 or 3. They had Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, which is a big deal. Though I think a lot of people would just prefer a remake of Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. They did Mario Strikers. And there was another one that was on the GameCube when it launched that eludes me. Anyway, so they're up to like 4. After this one, they'll be up to like 4 or 5 GameCube games. That's out of 600. And they're not going to get to all of them. I get it. But I hope they get to Viewtiful Joe. I never beat that game. And I want to get back around. There's a bunch of other games that seem to be coming around that are smaller games that aren't, the most AAA games in the world. and I think it's okay. And so it's a lot of like story games. Here's another one. Hazardor Gaming 9 are here on Threads. Gives us some new info on this new game called Echoes of the End, which, if you look at the key art, it's got a crazy landscape that at first glance is like, oh, that's like Skyrim. There's mountains in the back, and there's a field, and there's some castles and temples back there. There's snow, and then wait, there's fire. Like, that's not Skyrim. There's volcanoes, and then there's this big ice structure, like, a mile high, shooting out of the ground. You're like, what am I supposed to do with this key art? What else can we learn? Well, there's two characters. There's a guy and a lady, and she's got a sword and a power arm that's glowing. And he's got what appears to be a wrist-mounted hook shot that's glowing with maybe some technology. So is there like magic and tech? Both here, you look at the clothes, you go, well, like, these are kind of modern looking clothes. Like, are these in the 1800s or 1900s? Echoes of the End. It says it's a 15-hour single-player story, 20 unique enemies, small dev team. Small dev team, big game impact has been the story of 2025 with Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, supposedly 33 developers. I think maybe it's a little bit different. This one says 40 devs, 4 character progression skill trees. I don't know if that means 4 characters with a progressive skill tree, or if there's 4 skill trees for the characters. 10 main chapters in the game, and each chapter has a distinct environment and visuals. So we've got, this is a new IP, which is like, hook me up, right? We love new IPs, intellectual properties. They're hard to get to. They're dangerous to launch, because you don't know if they're going to be great. But if you end up with, really, really amazing IP that's been around for forever, it's also hard to launch because it's very expensive to license the IP. I haven't watched this gameplay trailer that I'm going to show while I talk. But in a lot of ways, this kind of looks like another game I've been playing, at least at the start, at least at the start of the introductory key art, which is Banishers. We're going to talk about Banishers in a minute. But it's got like 2 heroes, and you're playing both of them, and there's a little bit of magic involved. This one looks more like heavy on the combat based on this trailer. So we'll see. But it's just another example of smaller games that are coming across my timeline, that I'm kind of like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll sample it. Maybe I'll try it out. Yeah, maybe I'll try it out. If you've played that, let me know. Speaking of like there's another game. There's another game coming out. This one has been around a long time, though. The old game Gothic, which there's been several Gothic games. It's very much like a sword and board and sorcery kind of RPG. It was like a third-person RPG, if memory serves, back on the PC. Must have been 20 years ago. Anyway, THQ Nordic is knocking out a brand new remake, and it does look like a remake. It's got fancy graphics. This overview from some sorcerer that's monologuing to you. I did watch this one before the show today. I did want to show it if you're watching on video, or you should just go look up the Gothic remake trailer. The first half of the trailer, before it dives into any gameplay, not that I'm going to be a trailer breakdown person, but for a minute, it's got small models, like easily it could have just been photographed, and then they added some, a LUT over the top to make it look like it was big production. It just looks like somebody created a small diorama of all these people living in these Skyrim. Again, another Skyrim-esque game. Sorry, Skyrim is so iconic, it's hard not to think of every game as Skyrim. But there's orcs, and there's mages and sorcerers and swords and boards, and you can kind of create your character and spec them in your own way, is what I remember from the original Gothic. Never beat Gothic. But anyway, the second half of this kind of gets into the gameplay and shows the updated graphics, and it looks like a pretty modern game. Like, it looks, just as reasonable for like a, not a AAA, but a AA video game where you're going to be fighting people. It's over the shoulder, third person, maybe just first person as well. But there's a demo. They just launched a demo on Xbox and PlayStation. I just downloaded on PlayStation before I hit record today on this podcast. I'm going to play it afterwards and see how it feels. It's coming out in 2026, but there's a demo out now. And they do at the end of the trailer also show you what the old version of the game looked like. Because they're re-releasing not a remake, but just like a little remaster of the original Gothic, Gothic 2, and there was like a third one that didn't have the 3 on it. And you're like, oh, that's how the old one looked. Right. And even remastered, this probably looks way better than it looked when it first came out. I do remember my PC struggling to be able to play that game. So that's neat. There was one other like game reveal or game announcement that I hadn't seen that I think looked pretty cool. And this one is called Car Park Capital. And this is so funny. There's this sense, here in America, and if you're listening internationally, I know you have cars. Like I know they make them and sell them everywhere. But here in America, we really like our cars. And part of it is that everything is far away. And we have a lot more land. And so we just go, well, let's just drive there. Let's make some open space and build it. But this game, it looks kind of like SimCity, where you're building neighborhoods and stuff. But I think the premise, without having listened to an overview version of the trailer, is I think they give you it. This is my guess. If you know about this game, let me know. My guess of this game is they give you a city and then you need to make it more friendly to park way more cars. And so you're knocking down houses, you're knocking down civic centers and parks and making space for the cars to go to the, shopping places and to go, consume more. And it's called Car Park Capital, and it's from Microprose, which is an old publisher name. If you haven't heard that in a while, I'm going to go wishlist that game this second. Hold on a second. I need to wishlist it. Car Park Capital. That was a cool one that I saw. Okay, a couple of game rumors. Let's do some rumor mongering around here. There was a rumor that came out this week that Black Ops 7, which is going to get, I guess we're going to get more info about it at Opening Night Live on Tuesday. But they said that Black Ops 7 is set to skip the Switch 2, according to IGN and others that were looking at these leaks from some French gaming website. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 will reportedly arrive late on Nintendo Switch. That's the update, as release date and price leak. So if you recall from the big deal when Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, they swore. Actually, I don't know if they swore. I think they swore under some type of, to the UK court is what I recall. Let's look at the actual article here from IGN. Here it is from Wesley Yinpool. In 2023, as part of its push to get Activision Blizzard cleared through the courts, Microsoft promised to release future Call of Duty games, quote, with full feature and content parity, end quote, on Nintendo systems on the same day as Xbox. Because they were worried, but it's like, oh, you're going to buy this, you're going to consolidate, and then you're going to keep the games, and you're going to keep them away from people that would otherwise be able to play them. Well, there really hasn't been many Call of Duty games, and certainly not the frontline Call of Duty games released on Nintendo systems in a long time, if ever. I can't recall. Maybe Call of Duty 2 or something. I don't think so. They just haven't done it. And Nintendo systems are always a little underpowered compared to the frontline systems. So like even now, there's a point in the Switch 2 lifespan where you could go, oh yeah, the new Call of Duty Black Ops 7, I haven't seen it yet, but I bet it runs. It's running. They say it's going to run. According to D Labs, it's going to run on the Xbox. What? It's going to run on the Xbox One? And the PlayStation 4. So if it's running on those systems, the Switch 2 can dog walk those systems, right? Like it's not a problem. We've got Cyberpunk 2077 running like a champ on the Switch 2, and it'll choke an Xbox One. It's like it can, if the Xbox One can handle whatever watered down version of Black Ops 7, though it says full feature and content parity for the Switch, it's fine. It's fine now, but at some point they're going to stop releasing the old Call of Duty games on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One a couple of years down. And then is it still going to work on the Switch, or is it just going to turn into garbage, right? Anyway, they're saying it may eventually launch on the Switch 2, but as it stands, it won't make Nintendo's new console alongside Xbox. So, okay, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it's a problem. I think most people that are playing these games are probably playing it on the systems where their friends are at. But what if you don't have friends? What if you're just playing the single player campaign? It's like, put it on the Switch where it'd be really nice to enjoy it. But it's probably really tough to go from, yeah, we're building this game probably for years to launch it, right? I think they're on like a 3-year build and launch cycle over there. Maybe it's longer, but it's usually around 3 years. And so, for them to go like, oh yeah, the acquisition happened. Now you have to get it on Switch 2, which just launched this year. It's probably really difficult. So, what are they going to do? Take them back to court? Nobody's ever done that to Microsoft before. Speaking of taking people to court, my home state of Louisiana, where I was born, has filed a lawsuit against a video game company. The video game is Roblox. Roblox is being sued by the state of Louisiana, is the article headline here from Kotaku. They called it a breeding ground for sex predators, says the Attorney General Liz Murrell, and they've launched a lawsuit. She said, I'm suing Roblox, the #1 gaming site for children and teens and a breeding ground for sex predators, due to Roblox's lack of safety protocols. It endangers the safety of the children of Louisiana. Roblox is overrun with harmful content and child predators. She goes on to say, because it prioritizes user growth, revenue, and profits over child safety, every parent should be aware of the clear and present danger posed to their children by Roblox so they can prevent the unthinkable from ever happening in their own home. I wrote about this in the Gaming 411 newsletter yesterday, and I don't know. We'll see what the courts come up with. I don't know if those claims are legitimate. My children do not play Roblox. And me and Mrs. B, constantly are thinking about like, well, there's certain technology that I can just hand my kids. I can hand them a Nintendo Switch and I don't worry about it. I know nobody can contact them on there unless they're playing certain types of games. And then I know what games are on there and whether they have access to games where you could talk to somebody like Fortnite. You can talk to people in Fortnite. If you got party chat on, you got things turned on, but there's safety controls for your kids so you can lock it down. It's like, no, you can't do on party chat. No, you can't message people. And up to a certain age, they don't need to be messaging anybody. Gamers my age know that when IRC chat came around, you could just message anybody on the internet, and things can and did happen and go wrong for a lot of people out there, where they just started sharing way too much information about themselves, their lives, and everything else. And there's so many new controls now for systems that kids might get into. And most of it is about just don't. Most of it is about don't let the kids have chat access. Don't let the kids have text access or voice access, or rather letting anybody else have access to them, right? Some type of verification that the parents can have, and that also just blocks it at the system level, because there's no reason for those folks to talk. And a lot of games end up like they have one of the games that my youngest likes to play is Fall Guys. Fall Guys, there's no voice chat. At least the way I got it set up is no voice chat, but you can wave at people. You can do emotes to people, but that's it. It's in game. Nintendo famously just upsets people because they have friend codes. and the friend codes are hard. You have to plug in like a 16-digit code, and then they also have to plug in your 16-digit code. It's like, well, that makes sure that you're friends with somebody. Now you can post that stuff on the internet, right? You could. People do, without any malicious intent. They just like add me as a friend. But there's a lot of choices in Nintendo systems. There's a lot of choices even on like Facebook and Instagram. Like you can have Facebook kids accounts, and the parents get to see all the messages. And you can manually control who they can be friends with and message with, and they have incredible family controls. And allegedly by the AG of Louisiana, Roblox doesn't have that. And you can read up in that story and others about how much they don't have. And this all might just be nonsense. It's just the AG of Louisiana. But then I heard that Chris Hansen is on the case and reportedly working with the state of Louisiana and making a documentary investigating Roblox and the child safety issues. Now, like, what does that mean, right? He used to run the To Catch a Predator show that was on like, network television. Can't remember which network. And, he'd be out there in the stings, and, the people would show up to meet up with, the people who were underage. You'd be, have a seat, right? Sit down, have a seat. And the cops were there waiting. And he would run stings with the, local police. And so it's like, man, Chris Hansen's on the case. I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. I will be following that. It matters. It matters because it is one of the biggest games. It is one of the biggest dollar amount games. That's people spend a ton of money on it. It's bigger than Fortnite, and Fortnite's one of the biggest like ongoing online multiplayer games. We talked last week about developers mimicking and remaking and doing intellectual content theft, if you will, allegedly, of that climbing game that I can't remember the name of. Check. There's a climbing game. Where was it? Peak. Yeah. And they're just building games in there. Anything to keep people engaged, And do your kids play Roblox? Do you have, what do the controls look like for you? All right. This podcast is a rollin'. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back, talk about what I've been playing, what I've been thinking about. We're going to do community spotlight, the something useful segment of the week, and then we're out of here. So be right back. And we're back. Welcome back. I played an hour of a game that is, again, we sample games around here. It's easy to sample. You get these subscriptions, you get sample games, just check them out. Here's one that I played called Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. I really think this is on PlayStation Plus, and it's by Focus Entertainment, and I forget the developers, but the publisher's Focus, and we've been talking about how that particular publisher is making games that are smaller and not for everybody, and not trying to make a huge AAA hit every time they ever put out a game, but just trying to make something great for a certain gamer, right? And this game to me feels like an HBO show. Like they wrote it so that it would get picked up and translated by HBO. Also, like echoes of what we talked about earlier, echoes of the end. Remember, Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden also has 2 main characters. And you can kind of pick the difficulty here from story to easy to normal to hard to very hard. So they give you like 5 difficulty options. You can change it whenever you want. And I'll say in the first hour or so, it feels just like a story game. The year is 1695, though apparently there was a gun. You see somebody here shooting a gun at some skeleton. I was like, that was the loading screen. I was like, all right. But anyway, you've got this couple that's traveling to New Eden, which is like New England, some small town in New England that's under a permanent winter. And they wake up on the ship. They're talking about how they're about to go into it. They're about to really get, into the stuff with these spirits that won't go away. Apparently, when the dead die, they stick around and haunt people. I can't imagine that that ever was a concern during the 1690s in America, right? Ghosts and wishes and stuff. I doubt that happened. Anyway, there's a little bit of combat in the first, like you're exploring from the boat to get to the town, and then you fight some of these like wights or, um, I don't know, spirits or whatever. So the combat's pretty lightweight. There's like a heavy attack, a light attack. There's a little bit of exploration. There's a little bit of platforming, but not much. It feels at first a little bit like God of War 2018, like the way that your characters are introduced, the way that you're walking around, the way that you're, um, fighting feels a lot like a very lightweight early entry God of War. But then you spend the next hour just talking to people. And I've been told by people on threads where you can follow me, andrew.m.p, that it's just very dialogue heavy in the first part of the game. And then you get more a balance of combat to dialogue. But the dialogue is really good. Like, that's why I go, like, I think they're trying to make an HBO show or maybe an Apple TV show, wherever the premiere television show is for you. It's one of those, like, not just, network TV. Like, they're trying to make like a really great dialogue experience. The voice actors are top notch and you feel engaged with what they're saying. So I'm like, why is there combat? Like, this just feels like an adventure game to me, because the next thing you do is you're trying to solve for the death and maybe haunting of the person that hired you to come to New Eden. And so you're walking around their house. Charles has passed, and you were talking to his wife, Esther, here. And she has her needs and concerns, and there's artifacts all over the house, and you're trying to figure out what Charles's ghost needs and concerns. Like, how do you get him to move on, right? It's a little bit of Sixth Sense. Like, how do you get these ghosts that aren't happy to move on? And like, even in the menus, it pops up and it's like, hey, you've done landfall. You're going to go figure out why Charles lingers. You're going to, solve this little haunting case, this little mystery, before you can really go anywhere else. And so to me, I'm almost like, why isn't this just, why is there combat? Because I'm interested in the story. Like, it's probably, pretty great show. I would think. So yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'd say if you have access to PlayStation Plus, maybe this is on Xbox as well, and you're into, maybe like an HBO show, ghost story kind of thing, you'll probably like it. Yeah, sitting here trying to solve both Charles and Esther's situation. I don't know how long this game is. I don't think it's that long. But I looked it up on how long to beat. I do remember it's like 22 hours for the main story, but then like 65 hours for like the whole game. Who's playing this game? What else have I been playing? Oh yeah, just a little bit of celebration here for me, if you'd like. I finished all the Picross puzzles with 0 assists in Picross S, Genesis, and Master System, and I did it in under 18 hours. Total. It gives you, once you've beat it all at a certain difficulty, in this case 0 assists, it gives you a little timer of like how long it took you to beat all the puzzles. There are this was the final one, spoiler, it's Knuckles the Echidna. Yeah, you cleared them all. There are still puzzles that are the mega puzzle type, so that one is very much like they make it harder, but in some ways easier. Like, the mega puzzles almost are easier because there's more hints and more things to think about. Yeah, I think that being 150 puzzles deep, I'm super confident, like when I start a Picross puzzle, that if I'm rushed or distracted, I'm going to screw it up. But that if I just kind of like sit still and relax and just let my eyes almost unfocus on the puzzle, knock them out. It's crazy. Like, it's a little bit of Zen, a little bit of logic Zen. I've been playing a little bit of Liza P, making a little bit of progress in it. But I've been talking about it almost as much as I've been playing it, which, is probably how this podcast came to be. But I posted, said, don't let your gamer card get revoked. Turning down the difficulty can be controversial, but most folks were encouraging. And then a bunch of other people came out to also be encouraging in this game or in this this thread. Night Viper id said, totally agree with being able to adjust the difficulty. A lot of people hear Souls-like and get turned off because of the difficulty and the community. There's some spiky people out there that say, just get good. They said a lower difficulty switch is a nice thing and a good thing to have as an option. Totally agree. Games need to feel achievable, they said. I mean, I love the Lies of P story and word building, but at about 3/4 through the game, the difficulty was just like, yeah, I'm good to stop here. So if you've been playing Lies of P or any other Souls games at a lower difficulty, you and me are like this right now. Last thing before we get to Community Spotlight, there was a really great article out there that Patrick Klepek shared. And it was about, it was from the Remap Radio. No, Crossplay. I don't know where Remap Radio came from. Ignore that. This is a video game article from Crossplay called Playing Video Games with My Kid Hasn't Gone How I Expected by Mike Woodham. It was really fun to read as an adult parent. And basically he found that his kid was just playing very differently than he played when he was a kid, right? Which happens. And I totally related to this. The kids were happy to not fight and play old hard games like Raiders of the Lost Ark on the Atari 2600. His kid was just happy to just vibe in Minecraft, to do no modes that required danger, that no modes that required working hard, no modes that had fail states was the point of the article. And that's where his kid was at. And he was like, but to him, the parent, the adult, is like, that was boring. Like, why am I not progressing? Why am I not unlocking something? Why am I not completing something or finishing something? And, there's a lot of times where us adults go, if I'm not being productive, then I'm guilty because I should be productive right now. And this child was free of all of that. They're just like, let's play. Matter of fact, let's play without the need to be productive. Let's do creative play and explorative play. And that's why Minecraft has been so big for so long. And that when I play with Minecraft, I go, no, like I'm ready to move. Give me Minecraft where there's danger. Give me Minecraft where I've got a goal or an objective. And that's where he was too, the author. And his kid was like, turn all that stuff off. Let's go in creative mode. Let's do unlimited resource and let's just build stuff and vibe out. A very interesting article. And it reminded me that in a lot of ways, like I have, my kids that play games, they'll play stuff with goals in them. But they also love to play this game called Arcade Paradise. And if you've played Arcade Paradise, you may know where I'm heading with this. This is a game about the early 90s, late 80s, where you play a character that is the son of the very productive dad. The dad who I don't think you ever see, maybe if you beat the game, owns a laundromat among other businesses, but he thinks of the laundromat as this failed business that he has, and he gives it to his failed son to run it. Go just, make sure the laundromat is clean and open so that as, the people in the community can enjoy it and we'll make a modest profit out of it and I'll pay you a small dollar, hourly wage. And your character immediately goes like, hey, there's like a couple of arcade machines in the back. I'm going to go play the arcade machines. And then he suddenly goes like, oh, what if we take some of the money from the laundromat and buy more arcade machines? And he doesn't tell his dad. So there's this fun little story where like you start doing laundry. Laundry baskets show up in the middle of, the day, during work hours, and you're doing the laundry, man. And like literally like somebody will, a faceless person, you'll never see them. The laundry baskets just show up on the counter. You pick them up, you carry them over to the the washing machine, you put them in, it loads it in, this little animation. The laundry runs, and there's a timer going. At some point, your watch beeps to let you know to move it to the dryer. You move it to the dryer. At some point, the dryer beeps to let you know it's done. You move it to like the pickup area. So you're doing the laundry for the community. They're not paying you. They're not doing their own laundry. You do it. And so you start off doing it and you get the money for doing the laundry. And you get the money from the coin change operation slot. You get a little bit of money for cleaning up the toilet, picking up trash that people leave around the place. So it's like the game starts off as like you're just running this shop. And then you get enough money and it's like, let's buy another arcade cabinet. And then another one and another one. If you get enough arcade cabinets, you start playing the games in the game. And then if you do well at the games, they become more popular. Like if you go get, a high score in whatever, the first arcade game is, more people are likely to play it. And so my brain is on min-maxing. It's like, okay, I'm going to beat all these, games. I'm going to get all of the achievements in those games unlocked so that more people want to play them in the virtual game so they make more money. And then I'm going to position the popular cabinets by the less popular cabinets so that they will become more popular. So I'm min-maxing where cabinet locations are placed, which games I'm spending time with during the workday. And pretty soon you're like, wait a minute, like doing the laundry is making me way less money. And I'm just not going to do the laundry anymore. Like I'm going to let those baskets sit because there's seemingly like no downside to letting the baskets just sit there. And so pretty soon you're ignoring the laundry and you're just running this arcade empire. That's the story, the hook of the game. Guess what my kids are doing? They wanted to play Arcade Paradise after they saw me playing it. I came in here probably to record a podcast or something. Anyway, they've been playing this game for hours one day. I come back out and look at what they're doing. I'm like, hey, you guys unlock some cool arcade cabinets? Did you order the big machines? Did you get enough money to expand the back room with more video games? And they were like, what are you talking about? It's like, what are y'all doing? Y'all are laughing your butts off out here. Like, what's going on? They're like, we're doing the laundry. What do you mean you're doing the laundry? They're like, well, we pick up the laundry, we put it in the washing machine, and then when the buzzer goes off, we put it in the dryer. And then we carry it over when it's done there to the end, and then they give us money. And I was like, right, yeah. But then right, the arcade games, they're like, yeah, we played a couple of those. They've been doing the laundry for like an hour and a half. And when I turn the game on, anytime else, like it's been months, they're playing it again this morning. It's part of the reason I'm thinking about it between that and this article. And what are they doing? They're playing the laundry. They they're not worried about the min-maxing. They're just having fun. Yeah, so what do kids want out of games? And is it different than us productive adults? Interesting thought experiment. All right, let's move on to community spotlight. I hope I pronounced this correctly. I really want to. Mm-hmm. According to Spotify, 1.9% of my listeners are from Leinster, Ireland. Hello. There's 3 million people in Ireland. Before we know it, all of us in Leinster are going to be listening to this show. Really glad to have you here. If you're from Leinster, Ireland, leave me a comment. Let me know. Would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to the show. Also, we had a shout out here, community shout out to one of my mutuals on Threads. This is cockadoodle.gg, which I think is a good game. Cockadoodle always posts some cool content. Maybe too many hashtags for me, but I'm always paying attention to their posts. He posted most recently about Roboquest. I was like, what the heck is Roboquest? And then he posted another one about Hexblast. I was like, I feel like you're just posting a bunch of things that I might like. And he's like, yeah, probably. And so I took a look at the Roboquest. You want to talk about a game that's got a little bit of some goals. This is a Roboquest, which is a co-op first-person shooter roguelike. And you're shooting other enemies, and he says he plays it with his wife in the evenings. and it's kind of like cartoony. It kind of looks like Borderlands, like the first Borderlands, but no, it's very comic booky. And you like any roguelike, you shoot some things or slash some things, or you do whatever the combat action is you're going to do in a roguelike. You unlock some stuff permanently for the next runs, and then you try it again. And this looks pretty good. So I've got it wish listed. Looking forward to playing some Roboquest. Then the other one he hooked me up with on a recommendation was called Hexblast, because he knows I'm into these puzzle games. So I'll show that one off too. This is Hexblast. I guess there's a demo. So I haven't downloaded this demo, but I need to. This is a deck building roguelike puzzle game, and there's a XP bar at the top. So you've basically got my attention immediately. I don't know what else anyone would have to do to try and get my attention. Then combine filling XP bars with puzzles and roguelike. So those are a couple games there. If you're not following cockadoodle.gg, maybe you should be. Yeah. Oh, one like something useful segment of the week for me. This is a podcast. I'd like to have as many people listen to it as possible. I'm not paying for ads at this point in my life. This is born out of a hobby and some excitement and fun and some skill stacking that I've built up over the years of being able to, pull information together about a topic I care about and talk about it. That's where this comes from. And I would love to make enough money to, do this full time someday. That'd be neat. But in the meantime, it's something I do, in between family time and just fitting it all in. It's a hobby, but it's a service to you. I take it very seriously, as you could tell by the wonderful quality of the show that you've been enjoying. But I did get a podcast audit for free. I got lucky. He picked my name out of a hat from Adam at the Podcasting Business School. He's on Threads. You can follow him there, Podcasting Business School. This was kind of neat. So this is like a little inside podcasting baseball. Like, I don't expect anybody else to care about this necessarily. But basically he runs a podcasting business school. Get it? And so he's been a fan of podcasting for a long time, but he coaches other people, sells courses, sells, groups that work together. And that's fine. Obviously, that's not what I sell. The content I provide is talking about video games. So that's why you're here. I don't sell courses about this, but he did a review of my show. He pulled it up on Apple Podcasts. You can follow me there at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you want. I show up on Overcast FM as well. And he basically said hey, what would I change about your podcast if I was coaching you? And so he's giving me some tips. I'm implementing them as fast as I can to make it more discoverable, not to make the show really that different. He's just mostly talking about it almost from an SEO context. Oh, does anybody know who Andy B is? No, you do, but nobody else does. Right. So maybe flip the show to say video game podcast for adult gamers. I was like, that's who it's for. He's like, well, you should probably call the show that. So he gave me a bunch of ideas. I thought it was really neat. You could check out his channel. Thank you to Adam for the free, quick and dirty. He called it a quick and dirty rebrand for the show. So I'll be implementing some of those things just to make it more discoverable. Share with your friends. Follow me here. Rate the show. Do all the things so that more people can discover it. If you're enjoying the show, let me know. But of course, the best way to be a part of the show is to go over to Patreon, patreon.com/The Andy B Show. I will be releasing a second early access episode this week and publishing it. So sign up so you don't miss the story of the 1993 Blockbuster Video Game World Championship. And what did we talk about today? We had a lot of fun. We talked about Battlefield 6 and how the ups are super high, but maybe it's still not perfect. I don't know. Multiplayer is wild. We talked about Gamescom Opening Night Live, what's going on with these subscription services with PlayStation, Nintendo, and Chibi-Robo. Will we ever find Beautiful Joe? There's a bunch more of these RPGs, right? Echoes of the End, the Gothic remake, this Banished, Ghosts of New Eden, also kind of interesting. How much parking do we need in America? Let's find out in Car Park Corporal, which apparently is out on Steam soon. We'll find out if the Switch 2 ever gets Black Ops 7, if Roblox survives the state of Louisiana suing them. Get your crawfish ready. Chris Hansen's on the case, so be careful. And if you've beaten 150 Picross puzzles in Picross S, let me know. I want to find other people that care about that. And what's it like playing video games with kids? You know, they don't have the pressures. You know, we're bringing adult pressures to video games. Let's be productive. Let's finish things. And kids are like, let's be carefree. And I can't wait to be carefree here with you next week on the Andy B Show. What's coming up next? Like, you know, maybe I'll lock in and finish one of these games. Maybe I'll get some more bananas in Donkey Kong. I don't know. Let's find out together. Can't wait to see you then. Thanks for listening. Bye.